हेलो। आज का एजेंडा है learning some Angular, then I will do some Java and Spring Boot. आज का एजेंडा क्या है मेरा? इसका आज का एजेंडा है कि मैं थोड़ा रिवाइज करना चाहता हूँ स्प्रिंग एंगुलर के डॉक्यूमेंटेशन को। एंड रिवाइज करने के बाद वही रिवाइज करना है एंगुलर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन। जब रिवीजन से मन भर जाएगा फिर तो जावा कोड कर लेंगे, थोड़ा स्प्रिंग बूट कर लेंगे। आज सही करना है। तो शुरू करते हैं। All query functions return signals that reflect the most up-to-date results. You can read the result by calling the signal function, including in reactive context like computer and effect. Okay, view queries. Okay, single result with the view child function. मैं अपने आप को देखता रहूँ। results. Content queries, content queries retrieve. Shiva is back. And that Shiva. Hi. Content queries retrieve results from the elements in the components content. Okay, view query is different, content query is different. The elements nested inside the component in the template where it is used. You can query for single result with content child. Results retrieve results from the elements in the component's content. The elements nested inside the component in the template. What is up, Shiva? How are you? You can query for a single result with the content child function. ये content क्या है? Content child custom toggle. We children component boundary. Content custom toggle text computed custom expando content child custom toggle. This toggle text custom expando. तो डिफरेंस क्या है इसमें और व्यू चाइल्ड में? अब ये तो मैं व्यू चाइल्ड से भी कर सकता हूँ यहाँ से। Custom toggle is, bro, what is AOP? Aspect oriented programming. Are you talking about aspect oriented programming, AOP? Are you talking about aspect oriented programming? Okay, aspect oriented programming is what it does. Basically it works by reflection. It injects code, modifies your bytecode during runtime, and adds extra features to your code. This is what aspect oriented programming is. 1 minute. That is what aspect oriented programming is. You annotate your methods class with annotations, and at runtime the AOP library injects the code. For example, if you want to uh, inject the logging in your functions, instead of using a logger and directly calling logger.error info, you can just inject the logging feature into it. That is AOP. Custom toggle is inside. ये content child है, मैंने इसको custom toggle को you inside custom expand as content. Content child. If the query does not find a result, its value is undefined. This may occur. बेसिकली मैं क्वेरी कर रहा हूँ यहाँ पे, इसके अंदर अगर कोई दूसरे कंपोनेंट पे यूज़ हो रहा है, चाइल्ड है, तो सही डिफरेंस है. If the query does not find a result, its value undefined. This may occur if the target element is absent or not hidden. Uh, ठीक है, क्योंकि सिग्नल्स है. By default, content queries find only direct children of the component and do not traverse into descendants. ठीक है. You can also query for multiple results with the content children. Okay, custom menu item. Hmm. कंटेंट चिल्ड्रन वहाँ यूज़ करेंगे जहाँ मुझे लग रहा है कि किसके चिल्ड्रन को मैं इटरेट करूँ और उनके वैल्यूज़ रीड करूँ. तो बेसिकली इस टेम्पलेट के अंदर जो कंटेंट दिया हुआ है, डायरेक्ट टैग्स जो हैं, उनको मैं एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ. और व्यू चिल्ड्रन से क्या होता है, व्यू चिल्ड्रन से टेम्पलेट, इसके टेम्पलेट में जो चीज़ें लिखी हुई हैं बस उसको मैं एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ. ओके. इफ अ चाइल्ड क्वेरी और डज नॉट फाइंड अ रिजल्ट, इट्स वैल्यू इज अनडिफाइंड. दिस में अगर इज द टारगेट एलिमेंट हिडन. ठीक है, हिडन है, नहीं है. In some cases, experiments already know with certainty that a specific chat is always available. For that. ओके. मैंने मैंडेटरी कर दिया कि ये चीज़ तो होना ही चाहिए. अगर मैं कस्टम कार्ड यूज़ कर रहा हूँ उसका हेडर बॉडी होना चाहिए. ठीक है. If a required query does not find a matching result, Anglo reports an error because this guarantees that result is available. This guarantees that, ये गारंटी करता है कि टेम्पलेट प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर में हो. और शिवा, you want to ask anything? If you're watching, you can send your message. Uh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. The first parameter for each query record is its locator. ये करता है क्या query locator? Most of the time you want to use a component or directive as your locator. मतलब view child element ref html button element से. तो ये क्या करता है, ये क्या करता है कि component or directive. No bro, content. Okay, thank you Shiva. You can alternatively specify string locator corresponding to a template reference variable. Component or directive as a locator you want. मुझे क्या बोलना है कि व्यू चाइल्ड, ठीक है, जो मैं टेम्पलेट में चिल्ड्रन है उसमें मुझे HTML बटन एलिमेंट चाहिए जिसकी आईडी या रेफरेंस, जिसका रेफरेंस ये है, मतलब ये वाली चाहिए सेव बटन बेसिकली. If more than one element defines the same template reference variable, the query retrieves the first matching element. Okay. Queries and injector tree. For more advanced cases, you can use any provided token as a locator. This lets you locate elements based on component and directive providers. Subitem, new injection token string subitem, component providers provide subitem, use very special item. ठीक है, लेकिन बेसिकली हम इसमें क्या करें, एक आईडी जनरेट करके हम एक कंपोनेंट को असाइन कर दे रहे हैं, और यूजिंग दोज दैट आईडी मैं ग्लोबली उसको एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ। बेसिकली ये चीज़ है ये। Query options. By default, the query locator indicates both the element you are searching for and value retrieved. You can alternatively specify the read option to retrieve a different value from the element matched by locator. Content child, ठीक है, जो मैं children है, expand the component content, and template associated with that. टेम्पलेट रेफ प्रोवाइड करता है। टेम्पलेट रेफ है क्या? तो टेम्पलेट का रेफरेंस है, यूज रीड टू रिट्रीव एलिमेंट रेफ, टेम्पलेट रेफ। Content descendants. By default, content children queries content children find only direct children and of the common not represented descendant. Okay, a difference है। Custom toggle. In the example above, whoever watching, you can send your message. I think there is only one viewer right now. Whoever is watching, send your message. Because it is not a direct child of custom expander, by setting descendants true, you configure the query to traverse all descendants in template. If when the Angular team recommends using the signal based query function for new projects, तो इसमें देखो जरा। ये व्यू चाइल्ड जनरेशन वही पुराना वर्जन है, जो लेगेसी वर्जन है व्यू चाइल्ड फंक्शंस का, ये कंटेंट चाइल्ड फंक्शंस का। हाय शिवा, यू आर बैक। व्हाट्सअप। कस्टम कार्ड हेडर विजिट सनी कैलिफोर्निया, ये मेरा टेम्पलेट है। और मैं क्या कहता हूँ, मुझे कस्टम कार्ड हेडर का रेफरेंस चाहिए यहाँ पर, तो इसको टेक्स्ट को एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ, पर यहाँ फंक्शन कॉल नहीं करे क्योंकि सिग्नल नहीं है, ये सिर्फ एक ऑब्जेक्ट है। In this example, the custom card component queries for child custom card header and accesses the accesses the what? How was your day, Seva? How was your day? What did you do today? View query results become available in the ng after VNet lifecycle method. Let's query list. View children creates a query list object that contains the query results. You can subscribe to changes to the query results over time by the changes property. Content child, same with uh, like function, content child custom toggle. ng after content init, after content init. content in it. Content queries. These are the legacy. ये पुराने एनोटेशन है जो अब यूज़ नहीं करते नए वाले कोड वगैरह में। ये वो चीज़ें हैं, फंक्शंस आ गए हैं। पर जो एंगुलर प्रोजेक्ट में मैं काम कर रहा हूँ उस पर लेगेसी यूज़ करते हैं, लेगेसी ही यूज़ करते हैं। So are you still there or you have gone? You are gone from here somewhere else. कंटेंट क्वेरी कर सकता हूँ, चाइल्ड क्वेरी कर सकता हूँ, चिल्ड्रन क्वेरी करता हूँ तो मुझे लिस्ट क्वेरी लिस्ट मिलेगा ऑब्जेक्ट। क्वेरी रिजल्ट्स सब्सक्राइब चाहिए तो ठीक है। In this example, the custom expander component queries for a child custom toggle. Custom toggle content. Content. I don't complete streams and other Java 7 features, but directly learning Spring Boot. I think you can use Spring Boot without learning 7 features, and you can learn the streams a bit little by little while doing Spring Boot projects. Like how to convert a list to map, how to extract values from the list, like that. Okay, Shiva, I thought you were gone. Content query results become available in the ng after content init lifecycle method. Before this point, the value is undefined. See the lifecycle section for details on the common lifecycle. This is query list, custom menu item. ठीक है, इसके content children. Thank you, Shiva, for joining again. Let me type it. Thank you, Shiva, for joining. Mhm. And there are two viewers. One is Shiva. Who is the second one? Who is the other individual? There are two viewers right now. Sport class, content children, custom menu items query list. Decorator based query options. All query decorators except an option that has second parameter. Except an option subject has second parameter. Work the same way as signal based queries except where described below. Static query, static option. Let's a custom card visit Sunny California. No idea, bro. Funk Gamer hasn't joined today. Maybe he'll join later on. Maybe he might be somewhere else working on his SaaS project. Custom card header static true. Export class custom card implements on it. Yes. What is the purpose of static? Okay. Okay, this is true for individual items, not for list. View children, content children both provide the query list object that contains a list of results. Query list offers a number of convenience. APIs for working with results in a dynamic manner, such as MapReduce storage. One query pitfalls. When using queries, con pitfalls can make your code harder to understand and maintain. Okay. Using DOM APIs. Angular handles most DOM creation updates and removals for you. Okay, that is this is the reason why this framework exists. How you might need to directly interact with components DOM element ref to get reference to the component's host element. Inject element ref. Let me comment. Funk gamer, where are you? कहाँ गया फंक गेमर? हाँ, कांस्टेंट एलिमेंट रेफ। ठीक है, तो एलिमेंट रेफ मतलब कि एलिमेंट ये रेफ है, ये करंट कंपोनेंट का एलिमेंट है। और मैं प्लेग्राउंड में जाऊँ, मैं यहाँ पे कंस्ट्रक्टर में क्या है, कंस्ट्रक्टर कंपोनेंट रेफ। ठीक है, मैं कर दूँ कंस्ट्रक्टर में कंस्ट्रक्टर element ref is equal to inject element ref। तो मेरे ख्याल से इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा ये एलिमेंट रेफ फंक्शन, नहीं करना पड़ेगा। element machine constructor implementation is missing, what do you mean? ये ना कंस्ट्रक्टर फंक्शन, अच्छा फंक्शन तो है। console.log element ref dot native element मेरे ख्याल से इंजेक्ट कोड का पार्ट होना चाहिए, देखते हैं उसको इंक्लूड करके यहाँ से। कैन फाइंड एलिमेंट रेफ, ये कहाँ प्रेजेंट है? एंगुलर कोड, अच्छा मुझे ये भी इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, हेलो वर्ल्ड, ठीक है प्रिंट तो हो गया। कैन फाइंड को कंसोल एलिमेंट रेफ नेटिव एलिमेंट, हेलो तो प्रिंट तो हुआ। स्टार एप्लीकेशन प्लेग्राउंड, bro, why Angular not React? For my personal, I'm currently I have to learn React also, but not now. If you ask me between Angular and React, the simple reason is Angular is more structured. That's why I don't like the syntax of React or how it works. In Angular and Vue.js, templates are different. The JavaScript or TypeScript code is in different file. So I like framework like that. And in React, the HTML and JavaScript are bound together. That is how you create a component, that you return an HTML from a function. And I also got confused while using the components because they use some use memo and things like that, and I had problem understanding how it works. That is why I prefer more Angular and Vue, just because for me they are cleaner. They are separation of different. There is separate template and separate code that provides the behavior to that template. That's why. ये प्रिंट क्यों नहीं हुआ? एलिमेंट रेफ इंजेक्ट एलिमेंट रेफ console.log element ref dot native element. That is why ये कहाँ पर आएगा? मेरे ख्याल से F12 करूँ, यहाँ कंसोल में दिखेगा क्या? अच्छा हाँ, प्रिंट हुआ ना ये। हेलो वर्ल्ड, अगर मैं यहाँ प्रिंट कुछ ऐड कर दूँ, रन होगा तो फ्री पे चाहिए, ठीक है। तो बेसिकली मैं ये जो टेम्पलेट है उसको एक्सेस कर सकता हूँ यूजिंग एलिमेंट रेफ by injecting it. The native element property references the host element instance. You can use anglers if after every render and after next render function to register the inner callback. Okay. Focus the first input element in this component. Component enter callbacks. Let us do some chill. Using a components renderer. Components can, why I'm learning Angular more is that I have a project I'm working on, and so I'm just revising it more, and personal preferences that I use, like the structure, how frameworks Vue.js and Angular structure their code. That is why I prefer Angular over React. This is a personal preference and nothing else. React looks easier in while coding, but I don't like it. Inheritance. Angular components are TypeScript classes and participate in a standard JavaScript inheritance semantics. A component can extend any base class, listbox base. Okay. Extending other components and directives. When a component extends another component or a directive, it inherits some of the metadata defined in the base. And the base classes decorator and the base class are decorated members. This includes post bindings inputs. So no metadata post bindings, inputs, outputs, lifecycle methods. Input required, candle key event, click, focus, active option, list box, place, input false, disable. Forwarding injected dependence when a base class uses inject as a property initializer. The child class inherits the property automatically. Okay, Shiva, good. Earlier there were two versions of IntelliJ. One was paid and another was community. But now I think now there is only one. You get a trial version for a month, and after that your trial period gets over, and you do not renew the what is called the premium becomes a community version. If you're learning for your own purpose, you can use the latest version of JDK. I think that is 26. It comes with latest feature. At least use 25. I think this is long term supported version. And there is no special setup is needed for Spring Boot. It is just a library of Java. And you can create a Maven project or Gradle project, and you have to import that project in your IntelliJ, and it will work. Your base class inject dependency as a constructor parameters. Snap only version. No idea what Snap only version is. Because when I downloaded for to work in the current office, it didn't have any community version. It only had one version, and I got trial for a month, and after that it became a community version. Ref overriding lifecycle methods. If a base class defines the lifecycle methods, it also implements new unit. There are two users. One is viewers. One is Shiva. Another one. Who is another one? In addition, using a component directly in template, you can also dynamically render components programmatically. This is helpful for situations when a component is unknown initially. Okay. Yeah, it depends on directly means that basically we will be हम वो जो component होगा उसको एज अ वेरिएबल पास करेंगे to render that. There are two main ways to render a component programmatically in template using ng component outlet or in a TypeScript code using view container ref. Okay, Linux is Snap store version, bro. Okay. I thought you were directly downloading from the website. Hmm. Using ng component outlet is a structural directive that dynamically renders a given component in a template. Admin bio, standard bio, component, this ng container, ng component outlet, get bio component. Alright, like this. Okay, we can use this one. We can play with this one. Component A, component B. Export class comp A. Do nothing. No variable, anything, nothing like that. Component, component, and pass an object. Selector is not, I don't know if it's needed or not. Then it's level add it. Comp A and what I did, I need a template to show that this is rendering this template. H1 component H1. ठीक है, component A, component B. Now create a component B. कॉम्पोनेंट, अबे यार क्या है सब। कॉम्पोनेंट बी बना दिए, यहाँ पे मैं कॉम्पोनेंट बी लिख दूंगा कॉम्पोनेंट ए की जगह। एरर दे रहा है कि डुप्लीकेट क्लास है, ठीक है, तो कॉम्पोनेंट बी बना दिया। अब आया मुझे यहाँ पे रेंडर करना है इसको, तो यहाँ रेंडर कैसे कर रहे हैं, हमने एनजी कंटेनर डाला और ये डाला एनजी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट, ठीक है, इसको कॉपी करूँगा। एनजी कंटेनर, एनजी कंटेनर, कंटेनर एनजी, और क्या है एनजी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट, कंपोनेंट आउटलेट। यहाँ मैं क्या डालता हूँ, डबल कोट से सिंगल कोट है, डबल कोट है। इसके अंदर फंक्शन कॉल करता हूँ गेट कंपोनेंट, ठीक है। कैसे क्लोज करते हैं इसको, ठीक है, क्लोज कर देना है। और ये मेरा फंक्शन मुझे डिफाइन करना है यहाँ पर, इसको मैं हटा देता हूँ, नहीं चाहिए अब ये। और मैं यहाँ पर करता हूँ कि मैं एक वेरिएबल है is component A is equal to signal true, सिग्नल ट्रू, ठीक है। और मैं यहाँ पे करूँगा गेट कंपोनेंट। यहाँ पे कैसे, यहाँ पे टर्सरी ऑपरेटर है, दिस यूजर इज एडमिन, रिक्वायर्ड यूजर, दिस यूजर इज एडमिन। You can use anyone. If you want Spring, start Spring project, just go to spring.initializer, spring.initializer. This is the website. कहाँ गए यार, this is the website start.spring.io. You can go there, you can change the group, you can change the name, you can choose the build type, you want to use Maven or Groovy, Gradle, and add your dependencies from here, from the list. If you want a web component, you can type web, select it. You want a security, select it, and once you're done, you can generate it. This will download a zip file for you. So you start from here only and import that project in your IntelliJ. And bio एरर क्यों है, कंपोनेंट है, सिग्नल इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा क्या, ठीक है। इसका जरूरत नहीं है सिग्नल का, ऐसे मैं ऐसे कर सकता हूँ, अभी तो सिंपल ही करना है। जैसे मैं यहाँ जाऊँ, कह दूँ गेट component, return this dot is component A, then return मुझे import करना पड़ेगा क्या, admin bio, standard bio, ओके, मुझे import नहीं डालना है इसको, and then return comp A, otherwise return comp B. ng component आउटलेट भी इंपोर्ट करना है क्या, एरर क्या है कि इंपोर्ट्स में इनको यहाँ चाहिए मुझे, इनको इंपोर्ट्स में चाहिए, इंपोर्ट्स मुझे क्या, एन जी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट। ठीक है, इसको गूगल करते हैं क्या बोल रहा है ये। एंगुलर कॉमन, मुझे इसको पहले इसको इंपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा एंगुलर कॉमन से। तो मैं करूँगा इंपोर्ट फ्रॉम एंगुलर कॉमन एन जी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट, है तो यही एंगुलर कॉमन, ऐसा ही दिखा रहा है एंगुलर कॉमन के अंदर है। ओके, ये इन कैपिटल है, फिर यहाँ पे एन कैपिटल होगा। एंग कैनॉट फाइंड एंग यू, ओके, ये थोड़ा लेट काम कर रहा है। ओके देखो, यू कैन सी दैट इट इज़ वर्किंग। मुझे इंपोर्ट करना था, बस चल गया। अगर इसको मैं फॉल्स कर दूँ यहाँ पर, तो यहाँ पर मेरा कंपोनेंट भी चलेगा। देखा, इसका टेम्पलेट चेंज नहीं किया गया, तो यहाँ पे बी में भी वही है जो ए में था। तो ये हो गया कंडीशनल रेंडरिंग। इंस्टेड कि मैं हार्ड कोड कर रहा हूँ मुझे एक कंपोनेंट चाहिए, मैं कंडीशनली कंपोनेंट दे सकता हूँ टेम्पलेट में। पासिंग इनपुट्स टू डायनामिकली रेंडर्ड कंपोनेंट्स, ng component output inputs, username है, greeting है, input required, request, outlet, any component outlet, greeting inputs, ठीक है। Okay, providing content section, use ng component outlet content to pass projected content to the dynamic and component. ओके, हमने कंपोनेंट डिस्प्ले किया, नाउ ng कंटेंट है, हम उसे कंटेंट पास कर सकते हैं। मेरे ख्याल से कार्ड रैपर एक डायनेमिकली रेंडर्ड कंपोनेंट है, उसके अंदर मुझे कंटेंट पास करना है। ये मेरा कार्ड कंपोनेंट है, कंटेंट क्या है, कार्ड कंटेंट है, जो कहाँ से आ रहा है, यहाँ से, दिस कंटेंट टेम्पलेट। मैंने रेफरेंस लिया है टेम्पलेट रेफ अननोन इसका, यूजिंग द आईडी और रेफरेंस नेम। फिर कंटेंट टेम्पलेट का टेम्पलेट मैं लेता हूँ, अगर नल है तो उसको एम्प्टी रिटर्न किया, अदरवाइज द VCR क्रिएट एम्बेडेड व्यू टेम्पलेट रूट नोट्स। ये बेसिकली वैसा ही है, सब नॉर्मल एसईओ में करते हैं, अगर अपना अलग डायनामिक कंटेंट बनाना है तो। प्रोवाइडिंग इंजेक्टर्स, you can provide a custom injector to the dynamically created component using providing component specific services or configuration। ये तो मेरा फाइंडर हो गया रेफ टाइप का कि मुझे ये थीम चाहिए। सिलेक्टर एट्रीब्यूट थीम डाटा, डायनामिक पैनल द कंपोनेंट आउटलेट, कस्टम इंजेक्टर। अच्छा, तो वैल्यूज है उसको मॉडिफाई कर सकता हूँ, क्लास चेंज कर सकता हूँ। बाई डिफ़ॉल्ट ये लाइट है क्योंकि यहाँ लाइट वैल्यू है। पर मैं दूसरा प्रोवाइड कर सकता हूँ. You can access the dynamically created components instance using the directives export as feature. Shiva, are you still there or you have left? Component selector counter template count. ये मेरा कंपोनेंट है जिसको मैं इंजेक्ट करूँगा काउंटर कंपोनेंट. बटन क्लिक आउटलेट और कंपोनेंट. काउंटर कंपोनेंट ये इसका इंस्टेंस है. ठीक है. और आउटलेट में एनजी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट. एनजी कंपोनेंट आउटलेट. ठीक है. मैंने रेफरेंस बनाया इसका कि मैं इसको यूज़ करूँ तो इसको रेफर कर सकता हूँ इस वाले कंटेनर को. डॉट आउटलेट कंपोनेंट इंस्टेंस increment. Okay, bro, Shiva, thank you for being here. Click outlet dot component instance increment outlet component outlet. अच्छा, मैं डायरेक्टली इसके कंपोनेंट को एक्सेस इसको एक्सेस करके इसका वैल्यू इंक्रीज कर सकता हूँ जो वहाँ रिफ्लेक्ट होगा. View container ref. Any component or directory can inject with container ref to get a reference to a view. इतना कंटेनर रेफ लिखा है ना, कंफ्यूज जाता हूँ मैं. You can use the create component method on view container ref to dynamically create and render component. When you create a new component with a view container ref, Angular appends it into the DOM. You can use create component method. Okay. Leaf component. Outer container, inner item. View container. Create component, leaf on component. In this example, by clicking load content button results in the following DOM structure. Outer container. क्योंकि मेरा इसमें इनर आइटम है. Outer container. This is in start of outer container. This is the end of the outer container. ये मेरा इनर आइटम है जहाँ इंक्लूड किया हुआ था. लोड कंटेंट पे क्या होता है, ये मैंने लीव कंटेंट क्रिएट किया, इसका जो कंटेंट है यहाँ इंक्लूड हो गया. इंक्लूड नहीं हुआ उसके बाद जग गया. Bro, export used to export that function in React. Yeah, you export keyword is used to mark a function or class as a open to for access from other JavaScript or TypeScript file. So basically, you're opening your function for access to other modules, because each file in TypeScript, JavaScript is a module, and functions are think by default private to that JavaScript or TypeScript file. So you have to export those to make it accessible to other files. That is what this export is. Inject, create component, create करते लिए component का, तो इसके बाद inject होगा. Want to lazy load some components, you may consider using a built-in defer. When dynamically creating components manually, dashboard. To simplify this, both create component and view container ref, support passing bindings, array with helpers like input binding, output binding. This enables creating components programmatically with template like binding in a single declarative call. Host view using view container ref, not create component. She was saying that I listen lazy beans but not understand, bro. Lazy beans is what is with labels. Lazy means is that you uh, you request an access to a bean, that is a instance of Java instance class in suppose Spring Boot, right? That give me a bean of type A, or give me an instance of a service type service, but uh, you won't what the Spring Boot won't create a real instance of that type until and unless you use it. So suppose I requested to give me a service instance or service bean of type suppose machine. I have requested it, but Spring Boot hasn't initialized or created that instance. It will create only when is used for the first time. So that is what lazy beans means, that you do not create at the request or access create at the request to access that bean. You create the bean when it is used. For example, I am trying to fetch some data from using Hibernate from the table. So when you say get give me all machines from the backend, the Hibernate won't give you all the machines from the backend. It will only give you a proxy object or placeholder for the object. The moment you use get and do some action on that object, it will make a request to the backend and get the data. So what lazy beans means that in cases scenarios, you have a scenario where you might or may or may not you may not need that data. In those cases, if you do not need it, then there is no point of fetching any data from the table in the SQL, or creating an instance of an object if it is not getting used. So this is what lazy means, that you create it when you need it. For example, singleton design pattern, you have seen it, might have seen it. That is a uh, you can say is a lazy pattern. You only create an instance when someone is accessing it. You check that first time that is null. If it is null, you return, create a new object, set that variable as the current object, and return it. Otherwise, you keep that value as a null. So that becomes lazy bean. Host using Hope I was able to explain shift. Use this when the dynamic components will become part of the logical structure. Okay, this is a big one. Lots of concepts here. Two-way binding, outward binding. Use this when rendering outside the current view hierarchy overlays, provided a host element becomes the component's host in the DOM, or so Angular doesn't create a new element matching the selector. Pop-up. Pop-up service. Application reference. Show host. Create component pop-up environment injector, this injector, host element host, input binding. Host. So this was a big chapter. Advanced configuration. A component input has changes as a result of a binding in a template or an event listener in the component runs. Okay, let us take 5 minute break. I've been studying for more than an hour. Today I prepared notes up to AOP in Spring Boot but not practiced. I too have not used AOP in Spring ever. I only have read it but never used it. So I too cannot provide you a practical knowledge of this AOP programming. Even I do not have proper knowledge of AOP because I never used it. I only have read about it. So I might not be the right person for this information. There are two people watching, I think. One is Shiva and another one is me. So is your setup for Java and Spring Boot is complete, or are you still setting it up? Okay, Shiva. So which project you are going to be working on? Have you chose anyone, any project? Custom elements. Angular elements are Angular components packaged as custom elements called web components. Uh, a web standard for defining new HTML elements in a framework agnostic way. So I won't be using it, so I'm just going to skip this part. बैक टू कंपोनेंट्स कंपोनेंट तो पढ़ लिया है, वापस टेम्पलेट्स पे आते हैं, इसका ओवरव्यू पे। Every Angular component has a template that defines a DOM that the component renders onto the page. Okay. Comments in the template source code are not included in the rendered output. Component and directive elements can be self-closed. Attributes with certain characters have special meaning to Angular. Okay. Add character has a special meaning to Angular for adding dynamic behavior such as control flow to templates. You can include a literal at the rate character by escaping it as an HTML entity code. HTML entity code. Angular ignores and collapses unnecessary white space characters, which can be disabled with property, some kind of property. I'm thinking to start tomorrow morning a simple student marks dashboard. Yeah, okay. We can start tomorrow. Start small, start simple. Don't try very complex projects. Otherwise, you will get confused more than able to learn anything from it. Start from saving a form and then reading the data, then editing that form's data, then saving it, then getting a list of those saved forms like that. Comments in the template source code are not included. Performing CRUD operations. Yeah, performing CRUD operations, you can start with a very simple form like three fields there. And you, for example, phone book, or you're saying that your simple student marks dashboard, or you can start with form which enters student details like name, date of birth, school or college name, to just save the student first, and you can next you can start with editing the already saved information of a student. That suppose you made a typo while typing the name of that student. Now I want to fix it, so that is going to be next step, that is your update. Then uh, try something called soft delete. That is, you do not really remove data from the table. There is a you have a deleted field or column in the table, you mark it as true. So data always stays there, but it is not really removed from the table. But that data won't show up in the get operations or when you are looking for information from the table. Soft delete means that you are not really deleting it, you are just marking it as deleted. For example, there was a student in a school and he has left that school. So you will mark that student as deleted, but you want to access the older records of those students, so you are going to keep that information with you. Angular ignores and collapses unnecessary whitespace characters, may add comment notes to page or placeholders. You might also be interested in the following. Why not? ठीक है, 5 मिनट ब्रेक लेते हैं। मेरा 1 घंटा हो गया बैठो बैठे। कंपोनेंट डिवाइस कर लिया, और क्या रहता है इसमें? टेम्पलेट्स के बाद क्या है? टेम्पलेट्स के बाद डायरेक्टिव सेट डिपेंडेंसी इंजेक्शन है। डायरेक्टिव छोटा सा है, ठीक है। डिपेंडेंसी सेक्शन है, ठीक है। अभी मैं समझ पता तो है ही। राउटिंग का मुझे पता है, मेनली मुझे फॉर्म समझना है। ये डायनामिकली फॉर्म क्रिएट कर सकते हैं ना स्कीमा से, मुझे वो पार्ट अच्छे से समझना है। रिएक्टिव फॉर्म्स वगैरह, टेम्पलेट ड्रिवन फॉर्म्स जो होता है। ओके शिव, hope I am helping you out in a way anyway. In Angular, binding creates a dynamic connection between a component's template and its data. This connection ensures that changes to the component's data automatically update the rendered template. You can bind dynamic text. ठीक है, ब्रेक लेने का, तो मैं ब्रेक लेता हूँ। बात कर सकते हैं इसमें, बस थोड़ा समय आँख को रेस्ट दूंगा, मैं पढ़ूंगा नहीं। कोई गाना सुन लेता हूँ। uh, you're directly learning from the official documentation. Yeah, I already know Angular. I'm just brushing it up. I did Angular a few years back, so I know how it works. I know how Vue.js works. Concepts are similar, but I'm just revising it again. This is not Angular is not something new for me. So mostly I'm revising with the official documentation. I'm not really learning from it. You're working as a Java developer. Yes, I work as a full stack developer with uh, Java, Spring Boot, and databases. Like I know about Postgres. I can write complex queries in SQL, and in the front end I can do Vue.js and Angular. I will be learning React. Suppose in few weeks, start learning it. So I'm a full stack developer, but mainly I do interviews or take job as a Java developer, because then becomes a very different thing. Trying to clear interviews for front end as well as back end. So you, I think, work as a full stack developer too, right? Uh, Interviews are harder in general for any level, irrespective of position, because it gets really tough. You have to prepare a lot to pass interviews. Given the current job market is a lot tougher. Currently, BTech for fourth year, first semester. BTech 4. So your fourth semester. No, your fourth year. Uh, so your BTech 4. So you're in fourth year or in fourth semester? Which one? You will have to prepare very hard for interviews. Uh, no, it takes time to learn skills. You should currently focus on doing what is called preparing for interviews to get a job. That is what I will suggest, because it takes time to get skills. You won't be able to do it in a year, 2 year. It take years to get a skill. So focus on getting a job first, and skills will come with experience. That is my suggestion. It is never too late to learn a skill, but it takes time to burn that skill or have that skill as your second nature. So make getting a job as your first priority. Who is the second viewer? You can meet उससे दो व्यूअर हैं, एक तो शिवा है, दूसरा कौन है? तो मैसेज कर सकता है जो भी देख रहा है. In this example, talk bindings and change over time will from signals become message. The color preference is this. Continuing the theme example, we will click on a button that updates the theme signal to light after page loads accordingly. Binding dynamic properties and attributes. Hammer supports binding dynamic values into object properties with HTML attributes. Mm. Bind the value property on the MyListBox component instance. In this example, every time my selection changes, Angular automatically sets the value property of MyListBox instance. You can bind to React activities as well. Image changes. List. Mm. This example, every time list role changes, Angular automatically sets the role attribute to the UL. And by calling set attribute, the value of an attribute binding is null. Angular removes the attribute by calling remove attribute. Text interpolation in properties and attributes. Instead of square braces around the property or attribute name, the syntax interpret property binding. Angular supports additional features for binding CSS classes. section classes. Good night, Shiva. Bye bye. Thank you for coming. Night. Thanks for coming to live. Bye bye. See you tomorrow in live. The above example renders the following DOM. Angular ignores any string values that are valid as well as names. When using a static CSS class, a directly binding class, I'm binding a specific class as this. Bye bye, Shiva. Angular intelligently combines all of the classes in the rendered result. List type box. When binding class to an array or an object, Angular compares the previous event value. You can also bind to CSS style properties directly to an display. When listeners. Yeah. भारत सो जाऊंगा मुझे नींद ही आ रही है थोड़ी थोड़ी. This example Angular calls update field every time the input element emits a key event. Accessing the event argument. Template argument for an event. Keyboard event dot key in key modifiers. Key upload enter. Cool. You can also add additional key modifier shift enter. Angular supports the modifiers alt, control, meta, shift. You can specify the key or code that you would like to bind keyboard events to. अ, जो भी देख रहे हैं उसको हाय, क्या चल रहा है? Whoever is watching, hello. I should count. बेसिकली सिग्नल नहीं है, सिंपल वेरिएबल है, इसमें वैल्यू सेट होता है। ओके, तो आज का लाइव बंद करते हैं। थैंक यू एवरीवन जो भी आए जिन्होंने देखा। थैंक्स एवरीवन। बाय बाय।